In the remote mountain villages of Nagano Prefecture in central Japan, researchers from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health came across something in the data that didn't add up. They were studying longevity, trying to understand why this region has one of the highest concentrations of centenarians on the planet. But the sleep data stopped them cold. Men and women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s were consistently logging 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, without prescription medication, without melatonin supplements, without white noise machines, no 3 a.m. wake-ups, no lying awake staring at the ceiling, no groggy mornings fueled by a second pot of coffee, just deep, continuous rest, night after night, year after year. The researchers checked the data twice, then a third time. The numbers didn't lie. These adults, the same age group where insomnia rates in the United States hit their peak, were sleeping like they were 30 years younger. And the reason had nothing to do with genetics. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific things Japanese adults over 50 do differently that protect their brain's sleep system from breaking down with age. These are habits so deeply embedded into daily life that most Japanese adults don't even think of them as sleep strategies. They're just life. Stay until the end because the last part of this video may change the way you sleep starting tonight. Before we get into it, I've put together a free checklist in the description below that outlines the complete protocol from this video, with exact timing and how to adapt each habit to a Western lifestyle. It takes about 2 minutes to read, and you can start applying it tonight. Now, the data. According to a 2024 report from the Centers for Disease Control, more than 50 million Americans suffer from chronic sleep disorders, with adults over 50 representing the fastest growing segment. Meanwhile, a 2022 study published in Sleep Medicine Reviews, which compared sleep quality across 8 countries, found that Japanese adults over 60 reported the lowest rates of sleep onset difficulty and nighttime awakenings of any population examined, including Northern European populations known for their health-conscious culture. The researchers concluded that the gap was not explained by genetics, body weight, or access to health care. It was explained by daily behavior, specifically 5 behaviors that operate directly on the brain's core sleep regulation system. The first is the evening thermal ritual. In Japan, the nightly ofuro, a hot bath or soak, is not considered a luxury. It's as standard as brushing your teeth. And for decades, sleep researchers didn't fully understand why it works so well. Now they do. When you immerse yourself in hot water around 104 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes, about 90 minutes before bed, your body responds by aggressively cooling your core temperature in the period afterward. That rapid drop in core body temperature is one of the primary signals your brain uses to trigger melatonin release. Not melatonin from a supplement, your own melatonin, produced naturally by the pineal gland. Most Americans skip this entirely, jumping straight from blue-lit screens to bed, and then wonder why it takes them an hour to fall asleep. The second difference is when and what they eat. Dinner in most Japanese households happens before 6:30 p.m. That's not accidental. When your digestive system is still actively processing food late at night, it signals to the body that it's still in daytime mode, keeping cortisol elevated and suppressing the onset of deep sleep. Beyond timing, traditional Japanese evening meals are rich in foods high in tryptophan, the amino acid the brain converts into serotonin and then into melatonin. Miso soup, tofu, small portions of oily fish like mackerel and sardines, edamame. These are everyday staples, not specialty health foods. They're also rich in magnesium and B vitamins, compounds that are essential for the brain to manufacture its own sleep hormones. The average American evening meal, eaten at 8 p.m., heavy in refined carbohydrates, ultra-processed protein, and virtually no tryptophan, does almost the exact opposite. Before we move to the next point, I want to mention something. Everything I'm describing here, the thermal response, the melatonin pathway, the role of magnesium and tryptophan. These are the exact biological mechanisms that the formula "You Sleep" was built around. It was formulated to give the brain the specific compounds it needs to run its own sleep system. For adults whose lifestyle makes it difficult to consistently hit every one of these inputs every single night. If you've been struggling with sleep for a while, the link is in the description below. But stay here, because the next points are some of the most important in this video. The third habit is light discipline after sundown. Japanese homes in the evening tend to be dim, not dark, but dim. Warm, low-intensity lighting. Traditional andon lanterns, incandescent bulbs, or the soft glow of a television watched from across the room rather than a phone screen held 6 inches from the eyes. This matters because the photoreceptors in your eyes that communicate with your brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock that governs your entire sleep-wake cycle, are exquisitely sensitive to blue spectrum light. Flood your eyes with it after sunset, and you suppress melatonin production for 2 to 3 hours. It's the biological equivalent of telling your brain it's still 2 p.m. Most American homes after 8 p.m. are blazing with overhead LED lighting and screen exposure. The brain simply never gets the signal that night has arrived. The fourth factor is low-intensity movement throughout the entire day. This is different from structured exercise. In Japan, walking is not a fitness strategy, it's transportation. Grocery runs, errands, visiting neighbors, short commutes on foot. Research published in the journal Nature and Science of Sleep in 2021 found that adults who average 7,500 or more steps per day, through ordinary daily movement, not gym sessions, had significantly higher levels of adenosine buildup throughout the day. Adenosine is the chemical the brain accumulates during waking hours that creates what scientists call sleep pressure, the biological drive to sleep. When you spend most of your day sedentary, you don't build adequate adenosine pressure. Bedtime arrives and the drive simply isn't there. The fifth, and arguably the most underestimated factor, is what Japanese culture calls ikigai, a sense of daily purpose and deep social connection that functions as a chronic stress buffer. Chronic, unresolved stress keeps cortisol elevated, and elevated cortisol after midnight is the single most common driver of 3 a.m. wake-ups. You fall asleep fine, but around 3 a.m. cortisol begins its natural early morning rise, and if your baseline is already high, that rise is enough to wake you and keep you there, mind racing, heart slightly elevated, unable to return to sleep. Japanese adults over 50 are significantly more likely to maintain strong social ties, a clear sense of community role, and regular low-intensity engagement with purpose than their American counterparts. The data on this is consistent across multiple longitudinal studies. Lower chronic cortisol means uninterrupted sleep. Here is the complete picture. A natural temperature drop 90 minutes before bed triggers your brain's own melatonin cascade. Eating early and eating tryptophan-rich, magnesium-dense foods gives your brain the raw materials to manufacture its own sleep hormones. Limiting blue light after sundown preserves the melatonin signal that tells your brain night has genuinely arrived. Consistent daily movement builds the adenosine pressure your brain needs to actually want sleep when bedtime comes. And lowering chronic stress keeps cortisol from hijacking your sleep at 3 a.m. Here's the problem that nobody talks about. For adults who have struggled with poor sleep for years, cycling through high-dose melatonin, Ambien, Benadryl, magnesium powder, every tea and tincture on the shelf, the biological system itself has been compromised. Decades of chronic stress, processed food, blue light exposure, and sedentary patterns don't just create bad habits. They deplete the specific compounds the brain needs to run the sleep cycle on its own. Lifestyle changes are the foundation, but a foundation that's been damaged for years often needs targeted support to rebuild. This is not a willpower problem. This is a biological one. This is exactly where U-Sleep comes in. Unlike conventional sleep medications that sedate you, or high-dose melatonin supplements that flood your system with 5 to 10 milligrams and leave you groggy and dependent, U-Sleep works differently. It was formulated to support what scientists call the brain's sleep pressure system, the biological machinery that governs when you fall asleep, how deeply you sleep, and whether you stay asleep through the night. Lemon balm extract directly targets the nighttime cortisol spikes that trigger 3 a.m. wake-ups. L-theanine quiets the racing thoughts that keep your mind from switching off. And U-Sleep uses only 0.9 milligrams of melatonin, not to sedate you, but to gently signal to your brain that night has arrived, without suppressing your body's own production over time. Rachel M. from Springfield, Ohio put it simply, "I was constantly waking up at 3 to 4 a.m. with my mind racing. When I started taking U-Sleep, it all stopped. Just 2 droppers 30 minutes before bed. No prescription, no dependency, no morning grogginess. And it comes with a full 60-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk in trying it." The link to try U-Sleep is in the description below. You now understand exactly what's been protecting Japanese adults from insomnia for generations. And you have the tool to start rebuilding that same system in your own body. The knowledge is here. The solution is there. Tonight can be different.